is Leigh with Coda Country. And today I am joined by a Nashville singer-songwriter who just released a new single on July 28th called Last Call. This is, and I love saying this name, Evanthia. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am so great. And listen, when your song came out, um, this podcast will release a couple weeks after your single came out. But when I first heard it, I was immediately drawn to the instrumentation, the quality of the production, how amazing your voice sounded. I mean, I am all about this single. So I'd love to hear more about it today. Could you tell the listeners out there a little bit more about the writing process? Because I know that was like with Lauren Weintraub, and how you came to get the song and record the song for
Yeah.
you.
So there was a publisher that sent me a few songs, and I was going through a bunch of different songs because I mean I'm a writer as well, and sometimes it's like I don't know if I have the song, um, and so I was going through all these songs, and I played Last Call, and it just I just knew that it was the one that I had to release. It just fit so perfectly as the next song, and it just it felt right. So, but then from there, I communicated with the publisher, and I talked to him about how I wanted to release it, and then from there, I started working with Chris Calbuda, the producer, and and he was even like, "This is perfect for you," and I was like, "I know." I was like, "It's perfect." And once I released it, they reached out, Lauren Weintraub and the other writers as well, and they were saying how thankful they are and stuff. So it was a great process.
Amazing. Yeah, that sounds so great. And I know that you recently debuted your first single, The Deep End, back in May, and that you are a writer on that one. So tell me a little bit about the inspiration for that song.
So I journal all the time, and
Cool.
from a young age, I started journaling. And I'll go into Writes and basically read some of my journal entries, and then which is very vulnerable, but honestly, you get some really good songs out of it because it just comes from a place that is very special. So I went into a write with Tyler Fillmore and Wyatt Durrett, and I had this journal entry about a guy that I really liked, and I was like, I just don't know if he's on the same page, and I don't want to just like tell. I don't know how I should say it, and almost like how it feels like when you have feelings for someone, it's almost like jumping into a deep end, a big, it's you get anxious, So that's how that song came about.
Yes, and I love that one too. It's just it's so refreshing to hear such a great voice on these new singles that you've put out. So yeah, I can't wait to hear more from you. And I don't know when your next release date will be, but I would love to know if you have any, new music coming out after these two awesome singles.
Yes, I am. The plan is to release a single every 6 to 8 weeks till the end of the year, and
Wow.
hopefully make an EP out of that as well. But that's the goal right now, and I'm in the process right now of trying to figure out which song I'm going to be recording for this next release. So it's really exciting. Honestly, I love the process of it. So
That's very cool. Well, so and that means you must have a ton of music that's already like ready to go and you're just sitting on it. I know that anticipation is probably killing you.
yeah,
Yeah. So, okay. Um Hearing more about your recorded music and how you journal, I'd love to know what made you want to start, or I guess what made you want to become an artist in the first place. What are your influences? How did you decide that you wanted to be a country music artist?
well, from a young age, um, I've wanted to be a singer. I would have, small performances in front of the fireplace in my house that had like a ledge on top of it. So I would perform
Mhm.
for my family and friends, and I would always make some sort of performance all the time. And my brother is completely opposite, like complete opposite, and so I was always wanting to be the center of attention. And I think I really noticed it at a young age. It's so weird, but I was watching Hannah Montana, and I was like, that's where I got the idea from at a young age. And of course, my parents were kind of against it at first because they didn't know anyone in the industry, and so it was a very long process. And I begged my parents to let me go to LA and go back and forth. And it took some time, but when I was 12, turning 13, I moved to LA and I went back and forth. And country music has always been involved in my life. CMT like music videos were playing every morning, so it was always something that I was listening to, and my parents loved listening to old country music as well. So it was always there in the back of my mind. But of course, it was a marathon, not a sprint. So I moved to LA and I lived there for 5 or 6 years. And then I was focusing on acting at the time, and I still worked on music, practiced guitar and stuff. And then I met with a producer out there, and he was the one to tell me. He was like, "What are you doing here?" He was like, "You need to be in Nashville." And I was like, "Really?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "You need to be in Nashville, and you just like go out there and write and learn and grow there." And I was like, I feel like I just needed to hear someone tell me that, honestly. So then from there, I told my parents, I was like, I'm going to Nashville. They were like, okay. And they were supportive of it. Honestly, I love it here so much. And I've learned so much from just living here for a couple years now. Um, but it's been a wild ride, but it's honestly, it's all part of it. So.
Yeah. How would you compare the community of musicians or songwriters from LA to the artists and musicians that you come in contact with now in Nashville?
Well, in LA, I during writing sessions, it was honestly the process is always different for everyone. But I feel like I just connected more with people here in Nashville. I feel like in LA, the music community is not necessarily so close together, so much like a family. I feel like when
Mhm.
I moved here and I started writing, I feel like so many people were just like the first time I met them, they'd be like, "Oh, like we should ride again," or "Oh, let me introduce you to this person." And it was like everyone was just super sweet, and I feel like I was already a part of like their family or something, which reminded me a lot of my hometown in Missouri, because it was everyone's just it's the Southern hospitality I feel like that people have, but in LA it was just like I feel like the community just was more spread out because it's such a big city as well, um, but it kind
Mhm.
of felt small with the community there.
Yeah. Well, and I guess in Nashville too, people are connected to people, and it's like if you work with this
Right.
person, you might have the chance to work with this person, and it's just all about who you know. So I feel like you're finding your way now that you've moved there, and you're finding artists to collaborate with, and that is awesome to hear. So we talked a little about like your recorded music. Do you have any live shows that are coming up in the next couple months?
I am performing at the listening room with Song Suffragettes. Um,
Yeah.
that is August 28th, I believe.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm performing there, which I'm super excited about. Um, and then I have some possible tours in the works, opening for some tours, but I can't specify just yet. But that is definitely in the works, and I'm super excited about that as well.
Cool.
Um, and hopefully some festivals that are coming up. I know there's a big one that's in Australia, but that's one of my dreams and goals is to perform at a festival. I feel like it'd be so much fun.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
So, okay. pigtailing off of that, um, are there are there certain artists that you would love to go on tour with, or be, headlining with a festival with, or anything like that?
um, I would love to go on tour with Cody Johnson. I just love his music, and I feel like his voice is just like butter. Um,
Yes.
and also, I feel like Zach Brown Band is really cool as well. I look up to both of them, and so I feel like either one going on tour with or headlining with, that would be awesome, a dream for
It's
sure.
fun. Yeah, definitely. So much fun. Oh my gosh. Well, and then they're awesome performers to
Yeah.
watch live. So, yeah. I'm imagining, I've never seen you perform live, but I'm imagining that you are an incredible performer too, just from the way that you sound. So, well, okay. So you talked about Cody Johnson, you talked about Zach Brown. Do you have any more like music favorites or people that are like at the top of your playlist right now?
I've been listening to, it's so crazy because I like to listen to a lot of just older country artists. I've been listening
Mm-hmm.
to a lot of Keith Whitley recently because my parents love Keith Whitley, and they
Mm-hmm.
that have played a lot of older country songs when I grew up, and so my parents like to share that with me. And I even got for my birthday I got a record player, and it also plays cassette tapes. So
Oh.
my mom was like, I'm gonna give you all of my cassette tapes that are like all these country songs. So I was like, I don't know necessarily how to work it yet, but I'm going to learn for sure. But I've been listening to a lot of Keith Whitley. And then I've also, for newer artists, I've been listening to Elena, or Alana, how do you pronounce her name? Alana Springsteen? Yes,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
listening
Mm-hmm.
to her a lot. I think she just had a new EP that just came out, and I've been listening to that 20 something or something like that.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's so good, and I feel like it's really relatable. So yeah,
It is. Her writing is very complex, I feel like at some points, but it's also like, I don't know, makes you feel good in some
yeah,
ways. Relatable is the great word to use there.
yeah,
Well, okay. I think we had an awesome little chat today.
yeah.
Before we hop off, well, one, would you mind sharing your social media information to the listeners out there so they can find you and follow you?
Of course, yes. On Instagram and TikTok, all the social media platforms, my username is Evanthia underscore Theodoro. If you just search Evanthia, also it will populate. My website, Evanthia, and so is on Spotify to search my music, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, all the music platforms as well. It's just Evanthia.
Cool. And did you want to give any specific shout outs or any, thank yous to any of the listeners or anybody in your community right now?
I just want to say thank you to the listeners, and thank you to Nashville, honestly, just being so welcoming and just a great music community. And for the listeners, just staying loyal and yeah, just be yourself. Also, I want to tell my listeners, just be yourself and have fun, enjoy the ride on whatever you're doing and whatever goals that you have.
That's right. If you're in the Nashville area, make sure that you check out Evanthia at the listening room on August 28th with the song Suffragettes. This is Leigh with Coda Country of Coda Country Chats. Hope you have a good day.